Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the Noon News from Montana's news leader.
Good afternoon, and thanks so much for joining us today. I'm Aja Goare. Our top story this afternoon: dozens of schools across northwest Montana canceled today amid an apparent threat of violence that's now under investigation by the FBI. A total of 31 public and non-public schools are closed today as a result of the threat made last night. Federal authorities are releasing few details about the situation, but the Flathead County Sheriff says the threat started with the Columbia Falls School District and eventually spread to neighboring schools via text or email. The person who sent the threats is apparently anonymous, and law enforcement has worked through the night investigating.
There are unfortunately always threats to schools, and it's up to the school administration and us in law enforcement to attempt to verify the validity of that threat. Do we feel that it's credible or not? And in this case, certainly we feel that potentially it could be credible. So that's why we're working as hard as we can, and I think it probably was prudent for some of the schools to cancel classes today.
All sporting events and practices are canceled. Anyone with information should contact authorities. A full list of school closures can be found on your local MTN website. Meanwhile, students and teachers at a high school near Spokane are mourning today the loss of a student who was killed in Wednesday's school shooting. It happened inside the Freeman High School, and the suspect, identified as Caleb Sharp, is in custody. 3 other juveniles are in stable condition at the hospital today. Authorities say sophomore Sam Strahan was killed when he confronted the gunman. President Trump is in Florida today, checking on Hurricane Irma recovery efforts. Millions of customers across the state remain without power. A criminal investigation is also underway after 8 residents of a Florida nursing home were found dead. CBS's Mola has the details.
President Trump and the First Lady arrived in Fort Myers to view Irma's aftermath.
We've seen the devastation. We're going to see some more of it now, unfortunately.
The president will also tour the damage in Naples, near where Irma came ashore for the second time on Sunday. Millions of people remain without power across the state.
They're way ahead of schedule. There are more electrical people in this state, I think, than ever accumulated anywhere in the world, is what I read before.
Utility officials say it could be another week before power is completely restored to this part of the state because of the significant damage.
In Broward County, Florida, another nursing home was evacuated Thursday morning. It comes one day after 8 patients died at a nearby facility that lost air conditioning following Irma. A criminal investigation is underway.
Preliminary results show that they did have electricity at the place, but the air conditioning was not working. They have brought in portable units, but the portable units were insufficient to the excessive heat that was there.
And in the hard-hit Florida Keys, where Irma first made landfall, people who didn't evacuate lined up in Key West as National Guard members distributed aid.
So we've got plenty of food on its way, plenty of water on its way.
For many, it's the first help they've received in days. Mola, CBS News, Fort Myers.
At least 25 people in Florida have died under Irma-related circumstances, and 6 more in South Carolina and Georgia. Well, fire is the news here in Montana. The Blacktail fire burning in the Crazy Mountains is now burning about 5,000 acres. Wednesday's gusty winds made it unsafe for aircraft to conduct more accurate mapping. The wind is also fueling the fire and making it more difficult for firefighters. As many as 100 firefighters are on the scene. No structures are threatened, but the fire is close to ranch land. Elsewhere, a new evacuation warning is in effect for residents near the Sprague Fire and Glacier National Park. The park and Flathead County Sheriff's offices issued the new warning for Apgar Campground and Village and parts of West Glacier, including West Glacier Village. The earlier mandatory evacuation order that closed going to the Sun Road and the McDonald Valley is still in effect. The fire is 16,000 acres with 60% containment. An increased activity on the Highway 200 complex fires forced more residents to leave their homes Tuesday night. The evacuations affect 24 homes near the Sheep Gap Fire in Sanders County. That's the largest blaze in the 5-fire complex. An evacuation order is in effect for residents on Swamp Creek Road from Four Corners to the U.S. Forest Service boundary, and an evacuation warning is in place for residents along Blackjack and Mountain Roads. The complex is more than 24,000 acres. Turning now to the weather scene, Ed, it's what a lot of us around the state had asked for, colder weather and some rain. But did everybody get what they were asking for?
Well, so far, some people are really happy and others are still waiting for their chance at this. Take a look across the region today as we see those rain showers increasing through north central and in northeastern Montana. And as we take it through the day today into the evening hours, we'll see more and more rain develop in southeast Montana. And then it could really be eastern Montana into the Dakotas to come out the big winners where you see those gold shaded areas. We could see 1, 2, even more than 2 inches of accumulation and rain in some of those areas. And snow for the high elevations will be anywhere from several inches in the gray shaded regions up to a foot or more into the pink shaded regions by Saturday. More on the weather coming up here in just a couple of minutes.
Thanks, Ed. In other news today, the identity of the man shot and killed by an officer in Great Falls is now released. The Fergus County coroner identified the man as 25-year-old Thomas Addison. The officers involved in the shooting are on administrative leave pending the investigation. Addison was allegedly trying to break into a home on the 3100 block of 9th Avenue North late Monday night. Authorities say Addison fled when officers arrived and brandished a gun during a foot chase. He was then shot and killed by an officer.
Taking a human life is something we in law enforcement hope that we're never forced to do. However, sometimes when protecting others, this becomes necessary. I would like to take this time to thank the community for their support and for their prayers. We also recognize that events like this affect many families in our community, and our thoughts and prayers go out to them as well.
The Fergus County coroner will schedule a coroner's inquest. The Great Falls man accused of killing his wife in March of 2016 denies the allegations. Roy Scott pleaded not guilty in Cascade County District Court on Wednesday to deliberate homicide. He's accused in the murder of his wife, Stephanie Wells. Prosecutors initially charged Scott last year with deliberate homicide, but now they will allow a jury to determine if Scott is guilty of negligent homicide. Scott claimed he restrained his wife during an alcohol-fueled argument where she was apparently punching him. The autopsy revealed Wells died from blunt force trauma and compression of the neck. Trial is set for November. The Great Falls man found guilty of trying to kill the owner of a cabin during a home invasion last year is sentenced to 120 years in prison. 23-year-old Caleb Daniels was convicted at his July trial of attempted murder and burglary for his part in a shootout in Wolf Creek. Daniels and an accomplice had just broken into the cabin when its owner arrived and caught the suspects. Daniels attempted to shoot the victim, but his gun jammed. Daniels and the cabin owner then exchanged gunfire before Daniels fled. His co-defendant, Jory Strizich, is taking his case to trial in October. Before we get to break, National Park Service biologists captured and killed a bear in Yellowstone National Park that was repeatedly involved in conflicts with humans. Park officials say the male grizzly was tagged in 2015 after it began exhibiting bold behavior around people. The bear entered campsites in the Heart Lake area of Yellowstone and destroyed backpackers' tents and sleeping bags. Officials say they tried to change the bear's behavior, but ultimately could not, so they killed the animal on Friday. Still ahead on the noon news, black discharge in Niagara Falls results in fines and penalties. We'll explain. But first, Ed has our weather forecast. Stay with us.
You're watching